Good morning. Since I want to keep this series going, today I'm going to read the fourth sermon to the dead. And so I'm reading from the Red Book, Liber Novus, Reader's Edition by C.G. Jung. And I'm beginning on page 420, I'm beginning on page 523. The following night, the dead came running sooner, filling the place with their mutterings, and said, "Speak to us about gods and devils, accursed one." And Philemon appeared and began to speak, and this is the fourth sermon of the dead, and this is the fourth sermon to the dead. The sun god is the highest good, the devil the opposite. Thus you have two gods, but there are many high and good things, and many great evils. Among these are two devil gods. One is the burning one, and the other the growing one. The burning one is Eros, in the form of a flame. It shines by consuming. The growing one is the tree of life. It greens by heaping up growing living matter. Eros flames up and dies, but the tree of life grows with slow and constant increase through measureless periods of time. Good and evil unite in the flame. Good and evil unite in the growth of the tree. In their divinity, life and love stand opposed. The number of gods and devils is as innumerable as the host of stars. Each star is a god, and each space that a star fills is a devil. But the empty fullness of the whole is the pleroma. Abraxas is the effect of the whole, and only the ineffective opposes him. 4 is the number of the principal gods, as 4 is the number of the world's measurements. 1 is the beginning, the sun god. 2 is Eros, for he binds two together and spreads himself out in brightness. 3 is the tree of life, for it fills space with bodies. 4 is the devil, for he opens all that is closed. He dissolves everything formed and physical. He is the destroyer in whom everything becomes nothing. Happy am I who can recognize the multiplicity and diversity of the gods. But woe unto you who replace this incompatible multiplicity with a single God. In so doing, you produce the torment of incomprehension and mutilate the creation whose nature and aim is differentiation. How can you be true to your own nature when you try to turn the many into one? What you do unto the gods is done likewise unto you. You all become equal, and thus your nature is maimed. Equality prevails not for the sake of God, but only for the sake of man. For the gods are many, while men are few. The gods are mighty and endure their manifoldness. Like the stars, they abide in solitude, separated by vast distances. Therefore they dwell together and need communion, so that they may bear their separateness. For redemption's sake I teach you the reprehensible, for whose sake I was rejected. The multiplicity of the gods corresponds to the multiplicity of men. Numberless gods await the human state. Numberless gods have been men. Man shares in the nature of the gods. He comes from the gods and goes unto the God. Thus, just as it is no use to reflect upon the pleroma, it is not worthwhile to worship the multiplicity of the gods. Least of all does it serve to worship the first God. the effective fullness, and the summum bonum. By our prayer, we can add nothing to it and take nothing from it, because effective emptiness gulps down everything. The bright gods form the heavenly world. It is manifold and extends and increases infinitely. The sun god is the supreme lord of the world. The dark gods form the earthly world. It is simple and diminishes and declines infinitely. The devil is its nethermost lord, the moon spirit, satellite of the earth, smaller, colder, and more dead than the earth. There is no difference between the might of the heavenly and earthly gods. The heavenly gods magnify, the earthly gods diminish. Both directions are immeasurable. Here the dead interrupted Philemon's speech with angry laughter and mocking shouts, and as they withdrew, their discord, mockery, and laughter faded into the distance. I turned to Philemon and said to him, "O Philemon, I believe you are mistaken. It seems that you teach a raw superstition, which the fathers had successfully and gloriously overcome, that polytheism which a mind produces only when it cannot free its gaze from the force of compulsive desire, chained to sensory things." "My son," Philemon replied, "these dead have rejected the single and highest God. So how can I teach them about the one only and not multifarious God? They must, of course, believe me, but they have rejected their belief. So I teach them the God that I know, the multifarious and extended, who is both the thing and its appearance, and they also know him even if they are conscious of him, even if they are not conscious of him. And they also know him even if they are not conscious of him. These dead have given names to all beings, the beings in the air, on the earth, and in the water. They have weighed and counted things. They have counted so and so many horses, cows, sheep, trees, segments of land, and springs. They said, this is good for this purpose, and that is good for that one. What did they do with the admirable tree? What happened in the sacred frog? Did they see his golden eye? Where is the atonement for the 7,777 cattle whose blood they spilled, whose flesh they consumed? Did they do penance for the sacred ore that they dug up from the belly of the earth? No, they named, weighed, numbered, and apportioned all things. They did whatever that pleased them. And what did they do? You saw the powerful, but this is precisely how they gave power to things unknowingly. Yet the time has come when things speak. The piece of flesh says, how many men? The piece of ore says, how many men? The ship says, how many men? The coal says, how many men? The house says, how many men? And things rise and number and weigh and apportion and devour millions of men. Your hand grasped the earth and tore off the halo and weighed and numbered the bones of things. Is not the one and only simple-minded God pulled down and thrown onto a heap, the mass seeming of separate things, dead and living? Yes, this God taught you to weigh and number bones, but the month of this God is drawing to a close. The new month stands at the door. Therefore, everything had to be as it is, and hence everything must become different. This is no polytheism that I have made up, but many gods who powerfully raise their voices and tear humanity to bloody pieces. So and so many men, weighed, numbered, apportioned, hacked and devoured. Therefore I speak of many gods as I speak of many things, since I know them. Why do I call them gods? For the sake of their superiority. Do you know about this superior strength? Now is the time when you can learn. These dead laugh at my foolishness, but would they have raised a murderous hand against their brother if they had atoned for the ox with the bell? Mother, may your son be strong. Then he stood, looked up at the heavens, and said, How dark is your place in the new light. Then he disappeared. So that is the fourth sermon. Let me just see. There is one footnote here which is worth reading. Or two footnotes. In 1917, Jung wrote a chapter on the sexual theory in the psychology of the unconscious processes, which presented a critique of the psychoanalytic understanding of the erotic. In his 1928 revision of this chapter, retitled The Eros Theory, he added the erotic belongs on the one hand to the original drive nature of man. On the other hand, it is related to the highest forms of the spirit. It only thrives when spirit and drive are in right harmony. Eros is a mighty demon, as the wise Diotima said to Socrates. He is not all the nature within us, though he is at least one of its essential aspects. Collected Work 7, paragraphs 32 and 33. In the symposium, Diotima teaches Socrates about the nature of Eros. She tells him that he is a great spirit. Socrates. He is a great spirit, Socrates. Everything classed as a spirit falls between God and human. What functions do they have? I asked. They interpret and carry messages from humans to gods and from gods to humans. They convey prayers and sacrifices from humans and commands and gifts in return for sacrifices from the gods. Being intermediate between the other two, they fill the gap between them and enable the universe to form an interconnected whole. They serve as the medium for all divination, for priestly expertise in sacrifice, ritual and spells, and for all prophecy and sorcery. Gods do not make direct contact with humans, they communicate and converse with humans, whether awake or asleep, entirely through the medium of the spirits. In Memories, Dreams, Reflections, Jung reflected on the nature of Eros, describing it as a cosmogonos, a creator and father-mother of all consciousness. This cosmogonic characterization of Eros needs to be distinguished from Jung's use of the term to characterize women's consciousness. And the second footnote, Jung wrote an extended study of the archetype of the tree called The Philosophical Tree, and that is in Collected Work 13. And so that is the reading of the fourth sermon to the dead, and I'm going to cut this video short in the next couple of minutes because I do have the advanced reading group seminar coming up at 1:30 today. And so if you're not a member of our general Dropbox, please send me an email to skip.conover@gmail.com and I will be happy to add you. If you are not a member of the advanced reading group and you wish to be, you can also write to me at skip.conover@gmail.com, and I will add you to the advanced reading group Dropbox. There you will find a complete seminar of now, after today, it'll be 30 sessions on Dr. Jung's book called Ion, Researches into the Phenomenology of the Self. And so there are about 60 hours of seminar material there. And we're nearly done. I think it will take one more week after this week. So ultimately there will be 31 sessions. And then in early February, probably, we will begin, we'll begin a seminar on Mysterium Conjunctionis, which is Dr. Jung's most difficult book. It is volume 14 of the collected works of C.G. Jung, and it is, well, it's going to be quite a challenge to read it. And just Dr. Edinger's lectures on Mysterium are here. You can find a copy of this in the Dropbox. And this is just his lectures are about nearly an inch thick. So it's going to be quite a task. I expect that seminar to last about 1 year. So Eric says, hi Skip, can you go deeper into Abraxas? What is it? And what does it mean within the Jungian psychology? I'm sorry, I don't have time to do that today. He talked at length about Abraxas over many years, and in Ion, he definitely covers Abraxas very thoroughly. And so remember that the Red Book was his visioning period, and he said from this, this was the prima materia of the rest of his life. And so this is what he said about it at the beginning. The years of which I have spoken to you when I pursued the inner images were the most important time of my life. Everything else is to be derived from this. It began at that time, and the later details hardly matter anymore. My entire life consisted in elaborating what had burst forth from the unconscious and flooded me like an enigmatic stream and threatened to break me. That was the stuff and material for more than only one life. Everything later was merely the outer classification, the scientific elaboration, and the integration into life. But the numinous beginning, which contained everything, was then. So what I read about Abraxas is something that came from Dr. Jung's self during active imagination, and then he elaborated on that very heavily. So it's not something that can sort of be summed up. But I will give you one thing. Okay, so Abraxas is God, okay, but it's not the God of Christianity, because the God of Christianity is summum bonum, so it's all good, so it's one-sided. It has, the God of Christianity has no dark side, and Abraxas does have a dark side. And so I'll read the definition that Dr. Jung gave to God in December of 1961. So although I guess it was published in Good Housekeeping magazine in December of 1961, but he had died in June, of course. So anyway, here's the quote he gave. God is the name by which I designate all things which cross my willful path violently and recklessly, all things which upset my subjective views, plans, and intentions, and change the course of my life for better or for worse. And so I think I have to leave it at that for today, because I do need to do a little more preparation for the advanced seminar today, which is done on Zoom, and that will be at 1:30 p.m. for my regular seminar attendees, and it would be possible to join the seminar, but you'll have to send me an email very soon in order to get your name on the list. So, for today, anyway. All the seminar sessions are being recorded and are available in a separate Dropbox, though. And so, thank you, Eric. I'm sorry I couldn't give you a better answer today, but I'll work on that a little bit more. And so I'm going to sign off for now. Thank you for joining me today.